ancient Egyptian society represented creation, life, and renewal, or rebirth, or resurrection, depending on how you look at it. The scarab is a beetle that most people would pass by and think that it is nothing, that it doesn't really matter because of what it deals with, what its business, I guess you could say, is, which is collecting large amounts of shit, rolling it into a ball and putting its front legs forward and pushing with its back legs, or pushing with some of its legs and rolling it into a place where there is soft earth, then planting it there, and then that is the female. Then the male also softens the earth there and allows it to settle in. And then the female plants its eggs into this ball of shit. And those eggs hatch, and then they feed on it. And, there are a lot of bugs that do this, that basically allow the decomposition of dung to occur through their activities, through their association with it. And we can often think that, okay, bugs like this, beetles, what have you, they don't really mean anything. They matter less because of their function. They're down there literally in the shit. They don't matter. They are something that can't possibly have any relationship to human spirituality or spirituality in general. They are just serving a certain function, like maggots or mice or cockroaches. And I think that there is something particular about the scarab that we have to realize, and that is that what the scarab teaches us as a spirit animal, if you will, or a teacher just in general, from learning of its activities, is that harmony within the universe is to be maintained. How does a scarab maintain harmony? How does it allow a harmonious relationship to everything else? Now, when animals defecate, and when the scarab gathers its shit and then uses it and allows its children to feed upon it, to grow more scarabs that will break apart shit and feed upon it, and continue the cycle, break it down so that there's just not shit everywhere. And, we can apply this to flies, we can apply this to other bugs, other beetles, but I think the scarab is interesting in and of itself because it lays its eggs in the dung, and then when they birth, they feed upon it. So it is very much a beetle of renewal, a symbol of collecting all the things, and this is where I lead into the human significance, collecting all the things that are so painful to us in our lives, seem so terrible, and seem so inconvenient. If we can learn from the scarab and see that gathering all those things, allowing it to be the fertilizer for what we're to become, for the continuation of ourselves, the evolution of ourselves, the furthering of ourselves. In the scarab's case, it's children. But if we think about it as becoming somebody new, getting past certain obstacles for ourselves as humans, taking everything that we've experienced, however bad it was, and using it to further ourselves, then we can truly learn from the scarab. We can see that rebirth is not necessarily coming from a place of gathering gold and using that for rebirth. It's all about gathering the shit, literally. Well, not literally for us, but literally for the scarab, and allowing that to produce life. Gathering every single pain we've ever had, every frustration, every defeat, perceived defeat that we think that we've suffered and we think we can't come back from, and allowing that to be the food for our learning, the fertilizer for a rebirth of who we are, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. And in this case, in this example, rising from the shit, the phoenix rising from the shit, allowing it to create a state higher than we are now, never allowing ourselves to become stagnant, to be sedentary, to be completely inert in our spiritual practice, in our spiritual development, in our intellectual, and even physical development. But allowing every pain that we've experienced, but also those perceived weaknesses that we think that we can't get rid of. Those weaknesses that we think, okay, they're a part of me, and I'll never be able to, talk to the people that I want to talk to, or I'll never be able to pass this kind of class, this subject, math, history, or I'll never be able to get the job that I want. I'll never be able to raise to a certain level of status within my family or community. Realizing that all this pain that you've experienced because you can't accomplish those things, allowing them to birth a new version of yourself, a higher version of yourself, a more developed version of yourself, is learning from the scarab. Now, what is spirituality to human beings? This is a big question, and I'm just going to throw this at the end of the video, but I'd like to address it basically. For me, I feel like spirituality is something that we have to work towards. We have to expand in order for it to exist for us. It can't be stagnant. It can't just be, okay, I just do this every day, and then I'm paying my homage to God or the gods, and I'm not going to go anywhere with it. I'm not going to learn anything new. I'm not going to be able to really realize anything new because I already know it all. It's given to me. I take this platform, I take this portfolio of thoughts I'm supposed to have, and then I work with it. And that is the complete opposite of what spirituality is for me. Spirituality for me is, it feels like the crew of the Flying Dutchman, Wagner's Flying Dutchman, adrift forever. And every spiritual opportunity or every spiritual chance that we miss is a chance missed to take harbor, to lay down anchor, to allow us to resupply, and to gauge the terrain that we're about to experience. As a ship, sailing the sea and learning what is beyond. You can say it's a exploratory mission. Laying anchor in a new harbor, and a new lesson in spirituality for us as human beings. Learning from the populace, taking in supplies, the vigor of curiosity and understanding that we need for the next leg of our journey. And there are people who are like the crew of Wagner's Flying Dutchman, who travel throughout their lives, never taking harbor, never gauging the landscape, so they adrift just outside the shores of any new information, any new lesson, any new spiritual growth that they could capitalize on. They just continually drift along the shores of all the lessons that they could have learned, that they could have taken advantage of, that they could have used to become a better person, a more expansive person mentally, spiritually, intellectually. And they pass on those opportunities and just drift like the Flying Dutchman. And there's nothing more depressing to me than somebody who doesn't take advantage of all the lessons that we have as human beings. There are lessons for everyone. Even if you don't experience so many things for yourself, you can learn from the lessons that other people have learned or the experiences that other people have had, but you have a perspective on. That's why it's important to look at as much information, as much spiritual knowledge as possible, and try to really gauge the world and try to learn from what other people haven't learned from or have learned from, and try to judge their lessons for yourself and see if you'll make them a part of your own repertoire of understanding, spiritual understanding. So, do not be like that Flying Dutchman that coasts, that just lies just beyond the realm of understanding of all the lessons that it could have taken advantage of. For spiritual people, this is what it means to us. That last chance to come ashore. And then we take another last chance. And we just keep on pushing forward and forward. Beyond what we could have imagined. Just going into the void fearlessly. And allowing whatever lessons or stimuli, spiritual stimuli that we encounter to be a harbor in which we gather all the supplies we need, all the understanding. How does this affect everything else? How does this affect us? How does this apply to what I'm trying to learn? Gather that supplies. And then once you've taken anchor there, you bring the anchor back up and you move on. Move on to another lesson and move on to another harbor. Take in the supplies. Maybe add to your crew, add to your ideology, add different, I guess you could say, subsects of understanding, of pieces of knowledge. If you're trying to expand your understanding about God, then maybe at each of these harbors you'll understand a little bit more about how you can relate to God, or how God operates in relation to creation, or creation being a part of God. Maybe God is ever smaller and ever bigger in a way. Microcosmic and macrocosmic, and you start to realize the intermediaries between ourselves and our soul, and how God has intermediaries between them, and how spirits or how gods help us along the way, and where they stand in the grander constellation that is God, because everything is a part of God. Anyway, getting beyond myself, beyond my myself as well, but beyond my message. My message is that continually take harbor, continually take in those supplies, those spiritual knowledge, and be like the scarab. Produce a better and more understanding person than you are now by gathering all the painful experiences, all the shit that you feel like has just been piled upon you throughout your life, throughout your experience as a human being, and use that to really fuel your evolution as a person, as a spiritual being, as a soul, as an individual soul looking to return back to the source. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has been interesting. I really liked relating the scarab to the spiritual nature of mankind. And if you have any comments or have any questions, feel free to shoot it down in the comment section below. If you like this video at all, feel free to hit that thumbs up down there. And I hope to see you in the future, brothers and sisters. Never forget to take safe harbor when you see it, and take in all those valuable spiritual lessons. Y'all have a great day.